What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to another model review. It's your host Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini Jet's 1:400 scale Icelandair Boeing 737 MAX 8. This model is in Icelandair's new livery, and it was released in the July and August of 2022 release set. And I just picked this up, and here it is. This video will consist of a short discussion of the box and then an in-depth discussion and analysis of the model's features. And at the end of the video, I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. So let's go. So here's the box. Of course, it's you guys already know the drill. It's the typical Gemini Jets narrow body 1:400 scale box. It's 15 centimeters lengthwise, 15 centimeters tall, and 4.5 centimeters wide. And that's really all there is to say about it. Something that I noticed on the CGI of the aircraft is the bright blue here doesn't match the blue on the aircraft's tail. I'll bring the aircraft here to compare the colors. The color doesn't exactly match, and while it's not that, or it is kind of a significant difference, I'm not sure which one's more correct, so draw your own conclusion out of that one. Here's the underside of the flap on the box. Here's a brief history of the 737 family, as well as information regarding this specific aircraft, so take a moment to read this. And here's the beautiful airplane itself. Honestly, I really like this livery, so I'm just going to tell that right from the get-go. The fuselage length is 10 centimeters, the wingspan is 9 centimeters, and it's 3.1 centimeters tall from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer. So it's small and it's accurate to 1:400 scale. So we'll start up the review at the front of the aircraft. Here we can see a ton of things such as the nose shape and printed details. The nose shape looks really solid on this model, so very good job on Gemini's part for that. Lots of printed detail on the fuselage, and here we can start the Icelandair logo. And before I continue, right under the cockpit windows, there's this title here, and you can kind of read it. This is the name of the aircraft, and it's named after a glacier lagoon in Iceland. And I have no idea how to pronounce this. Sorry for that interruption. My family has no respect for my video times. Just kidding. Anyway, so that's what the plane is called, and I looked up how to pronounce it, and I'm probably going to butcher this still, so apologies. But I read that it's pronounced Jökulsárlón, which is a glacier lagoon in Iceland, so that's pretty nice. Anyway, moving down the fuselage here, we have the giant Euro White Icelandair title. Come on, airlines, you guys got to stop doing the Euro White. It got old a while ago. Anyway, and moving down to the rest of the fuselage here, we have the registration. This is Icelandair's first 737 MAX 8, and here's the tail section. So here's the vertical stabilizer. It looks really solid, actually. I noticed really no defects, no issues with it. And there's, of course, the old Icelandair logo. That's something they kept from their old livery, which is cool. And, of course, the bright blue band, which represents, I'm not sure exactly what it represents. I think it might be either the glaciers or the northern lights. I'm not 100% sure. Here's the right side of the aircraft. I'm just going to show you guys the whole right side. Virtually the same as the left side, so I have no complaints here, and everything looks good. Now for the wings on the model. The wings look really nice. There's lots of molded and printed detail on there, especially up here. Everything looks pretty good and well defined. On the bottom of the wing, there's only molded detail, so it's not that appealing. Overall, pretty good. Oh, and before I forget, on the bottom of the left wing, there's the aircraft's registration, so that's pretty nice. The wingtips, however, are a different story. So I went to the Grayland Station store in Chicago to get this model in person, and I inspected multiple units, and the wingtip shape wasn't really consistent. Some of them were really pointy, some of them were the shape that they are here, which is more accurate. And on one example, I noticed that the yellow dot on the bottom, or not the yellow dot, or yeah, the yellow section on the bottom wingtip, if my camera would focus there, wasn't present on some examples. This is actually accurate to the real aircraft. There should be a yellow dot down here, but sometimes that wasn't on some of the models, so that was quite interesting. Here's what the right side looks like, and you can see the Icelandair logo on the top wingtip here, so looks pretty nice, no complaints on there. However, of course, this model wasn't exempt to wingtip issues. The right side split wingtip, you can kind of see there was a bend on the top part here, and it kind of makes it look like a 737 Next Generation scimitar tip. However, the bend should be straight, actually. It should be straight instead of bent. So it's a small thing, but it's kind of irritating to see that. think I paused the video early. I said that it's kind of irritating to see that. And here's the front of the aircraft, and here we can see the wing flex as well as gear balance and cockpit window printing. Cockpit window printing is actually on the spot. Wow, that looks nice. The other 737 MAX that I just reviewed was a different story. Wing flex is good. Quality control on this one seems to have been better so far. Now let's explore the rear section of the aircraft. Here we can see the horizontal stabilizers and the APU. Everything back here looks pretty good. Decent amount of detail, or not a decent amount, but there's just enough detail on the horizontal stabilizers. No complaints back here. I already mentioned the vertical stabilizer, and that's that. Just kidding, there's always issues. Back here, I noticed an issue with the paint application on the light blue here. There's a little bit of white splotches showing through, so that's something to be aware of. The paint might not go on as consistently. Now for the engines. The engines on this particular example are pretty solid, yeah, they're pretty solid. I thought I saw a kind of scratched texture on the engine, but they're pretty solid. You can see the exhaust shape is really nice. Lots and lots of printed detail all around the engine. Looks really good. Color looks good. Fan blades look beautiful. Engines on this model are generally good, except on multiple different examples, I've also seen the engines point upwards in angles in excess of 10 degrees, so you can see them, and they're pretty bad. I saw this in multiple examples at the Grayland Station store, so the quality control on the engines hasn't changed. However, for the rest of the model, the quality control did seem to be a little bit better, so just be aware of that. Now for aerial features, there are 2 antennas and 1 Wi-Fi dome, all of which are on the top of the aircraft. These look really good. If you saw during the wing flex and front of the aircraft evaluation, the alignment and positioning on these is pretty good. Okay, I did notice the Wi-Fi dome is a little bit to the left, but it's still within acceptable margins, so I don't feel the need to rip it off and adjust it. So that looks good. There is a few antennas that do go on the bottom of the aircraft, however this mold does not have those, so those are missing. Speaking of the bottom of the aircraft, here is the bottom of the aircraft. Decent amount of printed detail down here. Everything looks good though. I'm surprised Icelandair didn't put their logo down here. It would have been cool to see that, but I can't. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers. I can't complain. But yeah, lots of detail down here. No complaints. Everything looks pretty solid. Now for the landing gear, here's the nose landing gear. Landing gear quality control also fluctuated between the models. Sometimes the distance between the 2 nose wheels was really great, and like great as in very large and inaccurate, and sometimes the wheels are frozen and do not roll. However, this example, all 3 wheels do roll smoothly, and the gear in general is pretty solid. Here's the main landing gear. Main landing gear looks pretty good, and it rolls relatively smoothly, so no complaints there. And that concludes the review. So now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. Honestly, this model is pretty solid, this specific example at least. Unfortunately, quality control does fluctuate, and sometimes you'll get issues as minor as paint application issues like mine, or you can get issues such as broken parts, bent engines, and a few other things that I think I mentioned earlier. And of course the bent wingtips too, although that's not as common. So quality control it tends to fluctuate. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think it might have been better on this batch since it's the first Icelandair plane that Gemini releases in the new livery, but just be careful if you're ordering this one online. So I like this model, and the question remains, do I recommend it? Yes, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful aircraft. Even though it's a Eurowhite plane, I still really like the livery because something about it's just unique. And I mean, I love the color blue, and the main color is blue. So I guess I kind of have that bias. So I do recommend it, but if you want to order one online, be extremely careful and know that you're accepting a risk to get a defective model. If you can, go visit a store in person and try and check on multiple examples and choose the one with the best quality control. Well, that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more airplane content. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.